The day before the Super Bowl, February 2nd, the Bape and Adidas Ultra Boost will be releasing in two colorways. To be specific, like always in today's video, we will be mentioning some release info, how to cop the sneakers of course, and finally, like always, we'll be talking about some resale predictions for those of you who might be interested in reselling the sneakers. Since tomorrow is February 1st, I did promise that I would open up more slots for my Discord server, and if you guys don't want to hear about the server, that's completely fine. Feel free to skip to this portion of the video, but for those of you who have been trying to get in for quite a long time, I'm happy to let you guys know that I am opening up slots now. However, it's worth noting that there were a significant amount of upgrades and additions. All of those are listed on the changelog of my website, and as you guys know by now, the way I price it is it's dynamically priced, and essentially it's based off of the upgrades and additions. It's more or less for loyalty of the members. For example, if people started paying at $14.99, which was the first price, they continue to pay $14.99 every single month no matter what, because they were willing to join the server when there weren't this many additions. Because let's be honest, although the first month had a lot to offer, compared to now, there's a huge difference. And for that reason, the way I calculate the new price is actually through a proportion from my investments, and that's actually how I got last month's price, which was $23.99. Now, this month, there was a lot of ridiculous changes. From December to January, there were a lot of upgrades, I must say. However, this month was out of this world. I can't even express it enough. And essentially, when I set up the proportion for this month, it came to $52.04. That seemed a little high to me, and I don't want to charge you guys that, at least as of now. I think that's too high, so I lowered it, and I decided to just screw the proportion for this month only, and I've decided to make it $38.99. But anyway, with that out of the way, why don't we jump into some release info for these sneakers. So these are going to be releasing on February 2nd, the day before the Super Bowl, for $250 each. Yeah, I know it's unfortunate, guys. Before, they were actually $200, but now the retail has changed to $250. This is quite unfortunate, of course, and we'll talk about this at the resale predictions portion of today's video. But as of now, let's jump into how to cop these sneakers. Let's talk about how you can get your hands on these. So first of all, just like always, I did put a Raffle List on my Twitter. My Twitter is KeithAdam10. Feel free to follow it there. You don't have to. And if you did have on post notifications, or you just happen to be watching this video early, you have plenty of time. You have plenty of hours left to enter. And I'm actually going to be making a quick 1-minute guide right now on how to make mass entries into raffles manually. And the reason I suggest doing it manually for all raffles is when you do use scripts for raffles, they tend to get filtered out really quickly. So I'm just going to give you a quick guide for a site like SNS, where you can make a ton of entries manually. Of course, if you're watching this video a little late, you could use this guide for future reference, or if you don't really care about it at all and you just want to get to the other releases, skip to this portion of today's video. So anyway, let's start off with SNS, because SNS seems to be one of the more strict sites. So basically, all you're going to want to do is change up your info a little while making it accurate still. Kicking it off, the first thing you're going to want to do is select your size and select if you want it online or in-store. For all sites that give you this option, I always go in-store if you're within that vicinity, specifically because there's far less competition there. Then moving on to the email address, all you have to do is make sure you're using a Gmail account and add a period, like a dot, in between the characters before the gmail.com. So if it's borat@gmail.com, I could do b.o.r. You guys get the gist. And then when it comes to the phone number, there's no verification process through this at all, even when you go to pick up the shoes. So what I would recommend is not using a completely random phone number, but instead of doing that, just change the last digit of your phone number and you'll be fine. Now, regarding the address, all you have to do if you live in a house is just add an address line 2. It could be 1A, 1B, 2A, anything like that. But if you live in an apartment, obviously you're going to want to keep this part accurate. Just add 5 random letters before your address and address line 1. So if it's 123 Maple Street, you want to put ABCDE 123 Maple Street, or any other characters of your choice. And then finally, there are going to be some sites like End Clothing, which you have to make an account on, by the way, and SNS. For this example, you're going to have to use different payment methods. Now, I understand some of you guys might not have multiple credit cards, and that's fine. All you have to use is privacy.com, that works here, and also Token. Hopefully you guys remember that guide for the future, so when I do list raffles on my Twitter, you guys have a great chance of copying, because personally, that's how I was able to get one of my Off-White Volts. Raffles are extremely great, although you have to keep in mind you can't always win them, and sometimes they're a fruitless endeavor. Like Kith, Shop Nice Kicks, Dover Street Market, all of these I wouldn't suggest going for, because I'm assuming a lot of you guys, or the majority of you guys watching right now, are watching for manual tips. For you guys, I'm just going to give you a couple of sites that I think you do have a manual shot on. So I'd like to say that a lot of these stores actually are having only remaining pairs online, which essentially means nothing. But there's one that's actually quite the contrary, where they're only giving out leftover pairs from online in store. That is at 6 p.m. Eastern time on the 1st, so that's going to be a day before. This will be overkill. When it comes to any of these sites, my biggest tip obviously would be to use autofill. That'll be your best friend. And then the next one also at this time that you could try is YME Universe. My biggest tip when it comes to here, other than autofill, would be to be watching a YouTube on that same Chrome user on a separate tab signed into Gmail, just because CAPTCHA is really going to be a pain in the ass on this site, and so is Cloudflare. Then moving on to February 2nd at 11 a.m., if you guys download the Frenzy app, you're actually going to have an opportunity to buy from Shoe Gallery. And of course, to end it off, Adidas.com. I think the majority of you guys know by now who've been with me for a while that we're going to be using the multiple people jig. If you don't know, here's a quick summary. You just make a bunch of Chrome users because they have different cookies, and that's how Adidas tracks you. But what I did want to add is something that I mentioned recently that has been working, that used to not work for a long period of time. Here's a quick little tip to get multiple pairs of the same colorway, or even one of each colorway. Of course, it's of your choice. You're going to want to make as many Chrome users as possible. This is obviously for every single release. When you do see you've gotten in on one Chrome user, what I want you guys to do is on that same Chrome user, copy and paste the link for the product page onto multiple different tabs on that same Chrome user. Now what this is going to do, since you have the same cookies still, you're going to skip the waiting room and you'll still be on the size selection page. Now the reason this is so beneficial is after you check out your first pair, you could actually go back onto the other pages that still have the size selection up, and if your time hasn't expired, it's usually around like 5 minutes or so, you will be able to check out multiple pairs. So you do want to be fast for this, of course. And for those of you asking, how do you order multiple pairs on Adidas? First of all, don't get your hopes up. If you don't have a ton of Chrome users, there's a high likelihood that you're not going to be able to even get one. The whole key is just getting in on one Chrome user. Once you're in on that one Chrome user, you want to exploit it to the fullest extent. When you order multiple pairs, you're going to want to change your email address, and you're also just going to want to change up your phone number the same ways we mentioned in the SNS guide that I just talked about. And then finally, you're just going to want to use a different credit card or PayPal. Just a quick tip when you do see that one of your Chrome users got in, and you will know this if you press the F3 button on Mac or Windows and Tab button on Windows, you'll be able to see them all at once. But if you turn up your volume, Adidas actually now gives you a little ding if one of your Chrome users gets in. So that's really useful, so I would make sure that your volume is up. So once you hear that ding go off, my biggest tip would be to close out all of your other Chrome users. You can open up later when you're done. The reason I say this is because they really tend to slow down your computer, and there's no way around this. And the most efficient way to get around this is to simply just close them all out. Because if they are slow while you're in the waiting room, it doesn't matter. You're still just waiting. What does matter is if they're slow when you're trying to check out. The lag is really terrible. So what I recommend is, since you're not going to get a lot of Chrome users in anyway, once you see one get in, close all the others out, and you'll have a very smooth checkout. But with that, I'm actually going to end the How to Cop portion of today's video. Let's move on to the resale predictions. First of all, let me just say, bear with me on this one, because I really want you guys to hear me out. There's a ton of hype on these, I know, and a lot of you guys are saying that this is going to be the drop of the month. Unfortunately, when it comes to reselling, this isn't really the case, and the whole reason is because of that high retail of $250. Now, don't get me wrong, these are going to be profitable, and it's good, easy money. However, it's not going to be anything fantastic, so don't be disappointed if on the camo pair you only make $70 profit when they go into circulation. Although, of course, this is a conservative estimate. I'm just giving you guys a brief warning that don't expect to double your money on this release. That's not going to happen. The profit margin isn't really that great, but it's also not bad, especially on the black pair. The black pair is going to do better than the camo pair. Overall, though, even though it's not the best margin this entire month, I still think it's good, easy profit. Do not sleep on these guys. I'm just making sure that you don't get your hopes up for doubling your money, because that's not going to happen. I see a ton of people buying slots for way too much. I think they're overestimating how much these are going to go for, and I'm just telling you right now, don't expect a ton. But with that, I'm actually going to conclude today's video. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, or if you perhaps learned a thing or two. Also, subscribe and turn on post notifications to stay 100% updated on every single hype shoe that's releasing. Of course, Good luck on this release, guys. I trust that a decent amount of you will cop, but please understand there's a finite amount of pairs, so it's not going to be everyone, unfortunately. Who knows? You know what? I bet I'm not even going to cop. I probably jinx myself. I'll see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day.